For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let's hear it for Jordan Leandri.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We're gonna have a problem here. Y'all act like you never seen a white person before.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Jordan Leandri, and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Corner podcast presented by Bias Boston Sports. Evan, welcome back this week.
It's a pleasure. Honored to be here. Can't wait.
Sweet. And Pete couldn't make it tonight, so we have TJ Houghton filling in. TJ, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem, Jordan. Happy to be here.
All right, sweet. So without further ado, we'll jump right into the news coming out of the Red Sox camp. They have made the Alex Cora hiring official. They signed him for a 3-year deal, and that was official on Tuesday, announced via their Twitter. And now the Red Sox have their 47th manager in team history. I think it was pretty much all over. That was pretty much once the offseason started and Farrell was fired, I think everyone knew that Alex Cora was going to be the guy that they were heavily going after. So this doesn't come as much of a shock. It's just maybe about the timing. Evan, I'll let you go first on your thoughts of the Alex Cora hiring. Perfect
guy. I mean, I've said this time and time and again. I think undoubtedly he is there. He's been their guy since the beginning. He embodies what you want in a Red Sox manager. You know, someone who can relate to players, can handle the media, knows what it takes to win here, has won here before, obviously, 07 and 08. And I think overall really just I think he was the perfect guy. You know, you could bring a guy like Ron Gardenhire and he's sort of a disciplinarian type, but that stuff isn't worth it, you know. I mean, these guys these guys are one step away from making that leap to the World Series. And I think Cora is going to help in sort of making that gap smaller. He's not going to automatically win the World Series, but he's definitely a step forward in doing so.
Agreed on that. TJ, you can go ahead now.
Well, I mean, you know, he used to play for Boston from 2005 to 9, and you know, he might have not been the biggest impact on the team, but you know, he was a winner there. He played to win. You know, we always talk Alex Rios. You know, he was down 245 hitless at bats, and then that bobble and Rios in right field got him in that slump or whatever. You know, he plays to win. You know, he's not like a quitter. You know, I mean, he did play with the may not have major league experience managing, but he did manage the Puerto Rican team in the Baseball World Classic with Puerto Rico and did get second place for them, which is pretty good. But they do have a talented team. I do think he's going to do really well. He quit baseball or retired not too long ago. He's one with the players. I expect good from him.
Yeah, I agree, and I think one thing worth noting is a guy like Carlos Beltran, who the Red Sox were linked to when he was a free agent last offseason, and then before he signed with the Yankees a few years back. Speaks very highly of him, says that he's a very good clubhouse presence as a coach, obviously, with them for this season. So being able to relate to players, being able to, be everyone's buddy, but also being a guy that can hold players accountable. And I think the fact that he's fluent in both Spanish and English makes him that much better because he can communicate well with, the English speakers and then the Spanish speakers on the Red Sox roster. And I think, having that kind of guy in the clubhouse makes it that much better, that much more unified, and that much more ready to go in 2018 and in the future following that. So,
yeah, I mean, the bilingual thing is huge. I mean, if you can really communicate with a kid like Rafael Devers, I mean, that's half the battle with him. And I think that,
right.
With a lot of these younger guys, these kids who, don't speak good English, to have a manager who can really, really relate is huge. I mean, that's something Farrell didn't have, and that's not Farrell's fault. You don't have to be bilingual. It's not, in the contract or anything, but definitely having that I think it's huge.
Yeah, I think in the clubhouse that makes him already a little bit above Farrell. Just, I mean, obviously, like you said, Farrell can't control whether or not he's bilingual, but the fact that Cora makes him that much more makes him that much better for the clubhouse than a guy like John Farrell would be. And one thing they were talking about on WEEI the other day was they were talking about how, Cora, if he really wants to make a statement, he's got to pull David Price aside and have a meeting with him first, just to basically see that where they're at, let him know that how important Price and his actions on and off the field are to this team. And I'm not 100% sure I agree with that. I think Price might take a little bit of offense to being the first guy Cora goes to, but just the fact that Cora is a guy that can relate to players, maybe he can, break through to David Price a little bit. I know that they, like everyone's been saying, he can relate to players and he can talk to them, and he's a good guy. Players love being around him, and maybe he can break through to David Price and he can start becoming a little bit more of a laser focused guy like Chris Sale is. So yeah, we can move on if you guys don't have anything else to add on to this.
I mean, the whole thing with Price is, I think that I don't think you want to have him feel called out. Price is sort of like playing with fire. You don't really know. It's hard to handle it. If you get it right, you get it right. But there's a lot of times when you don't. And I don't think they've gotten it right with him lately. And I think overall, when you look at how they manage him, it's going to be so important that Cora doesn't paint him as a villain, that Cora really doesn't paint him the way the media has, and really has a good first impression of him, really interprets him well, handles him well. I think that's going to be so huge. And I think Cora's going to handle it right. I have all full confidence in Alex Cora when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, agreed. The first impression is definitely going to be the biggest part of this whole ordeal with this whole hiring of Alex Cora, definitely. So we'll move on and we'll talk about Dustin Pedroia. He just had surgery, a cartilage restoration procedure, which is how it was described. He's going to be out for 7 months, and if he is right on schedule, that slates him to come back in either late May or early June. So obviously, you looked at the Sox offseason. You knew they had to go get a power bat. They already replaced the manager, so that's checked off the list. They had to maybe get another back end of the rotation starter, but now they have to go out and get another middle infielder, potentially. I mean, obviously, they could look organizationally and replace him with Sue Lin or Brock Holt or Devin Marrero for the first couple months of the season. Yeah, but I mean, it depends. And then obviously, they can go out and re-sign Eduardo Nunez, which was what I wrote about in my article yesterday about Dustin Pedroia at biasbostonsports.com. I'm not 100% sure, because obviously Pedroia going to be entering his age 35 season. I don't know if you want to go out and get a guy that can play middle infield full time, so that way if Pedroia can't come back and be himself, you have a guy that can play the full season. Or if Pedroia comes back and is himself, you have a guy that you have full time that's probably going to want full time, to get full playing time. You're going to have to sit on the bench when Pedroia comes back. TJ, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, I know it sucks for Pedroia to be out, for these next 7 months and for baseball, but it's gonna happen. He's eventually gonna retire. He's starting to decline anyways. He hasn't had this is his lowest season with home runs and average this season that he's played 93 starting games at second base. That's not the best for a second baseman that was who's like the longest tenured now Red Sox since the 07 World Series. So you have to out there and build. I feel like with Pedroia out 7 months, the best option is, sign Nunez. He was pretty good. He brought the bat and speed that the Red Sox actually needed during the late run. And, that's a big improvement to what they need. Base running last year was not the best for them. And so with adding speed to this team and, he can also platoon, I feel like, he'll be a great improvement to that second base. He can play all over the field. He's just a good guy to have. And, he's familiar with the system for the last couple months.
Agreed. Evan, you can go ahead.
Hot take alert.
All right, bring it.
Want to hear this? So I don't actually believe this, but when you were talking, I was thinking of it, and I was like, well, this kind of makes sense. You could re-sign Nunez, or you could. So let's say they trade Bogaerts to the Marlins and a package for Stanton. So more than just Bogaerts, but Bogaerts is a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You re-sign Nunez to put him at short. You bring Mookie in from right to play second base, and you put Stanton in right field. It'll never happen, but it could, and it's an option. Now, I don't actually think that's what they should or will do. I think ultimately, I think they should re-sign Nunez, as TJ said. He played really well when he was here. He's a good clubhouse presence guy. He's been experienced. Put him in the lineup. Good solid hitter. You know, I think if they don't trade Bogaerts, which has become a huge story, I feel like no one's really reported it except for people like us. We just keep speculating it, that it's becoming real. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
But you know, if let's say Bogaerts doesn't get traded, I think re-signing Nunez is the perfect option for them. You know, I mean, I know he's having his own knee issues, so maybe you branch out and get a different guy. Maybe you go inside the organization, or you platoon with Zhu Weilin and Brock Holt and sort of just throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks. But overall, you know, I don't think they need to make any blockbuster trade for a second baseman. You know, so that's my opinion on that. With regard to Pedroia's career, I think it's, you know, what scares me is the surgery. I saw it on Twitter today. It's the same one Grady Sizemore had in 2011, or you know, right around that time, and Sizemore was never the same. So it does really scare me that he's 35 years old and he's having the surgery. It's not a good sign.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of conversations with people, like bring up Dustin Pedroia, and we're always talking about how, you know, he should probably do his body a favor and probably just hang it up at this point, maybe give it another year, because I don't know if a guy like Dustin Pedroia would really be able to deal with sucking or coming back and being a backup, because, you know, obviously he wouldn't be able to. I mean, he's too much of a gamer, and his play style is too hard. He wouldn't be able to protect his body. He wouldn't be able to be a DH because he doesn't really have, you know, the hitting power capability as, you know, a guy you would like to have as your DH. So his body's breaking down. Like you said, he's going to be 35 next year, coming off a surgery that has ended careers in the past. You know, it's scary, and it all goes back to that Manny Machado slide back in April. But I mean, it's definitely a cause for concern on Pedroia's part. I'm all for re-signing Nunez. The platoon, the ability to platoon, he can play. You know, he can play third, he can play short, can play second. I've seen that he played corner outfield too, so you can put him all over the field, and he you know, he'll get the job done. He's a great hitter. He's fast. His glove's not quite there, but I think his offense kind of makes up for that a little bit, which I like a lot. And I think ultimately that's probably going to be the route the Sox go. And as far as trading Bogaerts, I think Pedroia being out kind of puts that whole thing to bed. I know that it's still a real possibility if you know, the Sox can get Giancarlo Stanton, or, you know, some big blockbuster deal and move Bogaerts. But I think trading Bogaerts is kind of something that would have to happen like next trade deadline or something, because at this point, you know, as much as Sox fans might want him gone, they need him now more than ever with Pedroia out.
That's true.
Yeah, speaking of Alexander, you know, recently he's been hitting more for power recently these couple of years. You know, back a couple of years ago when he was hitting just for contact, he was a 330, 320 hitter, didn't have that much home runs, but he did go on base a lot. And now we see this new Alexander who's trying to hit for power, and because he's looking to hit for power, it looks like his average is dropping. He's getting more home runs, but his average is dropping. I mean, average is an overrated stat, but, you know, his average dropping, you know, he doesn't look like he's as best he can be. I feel like he should just be a contact hitter, just try to get the ball in play. Do not hit for power, and it's the best option the Red Sox can do for an offense.
I agree. I think what we've talked about a lot on this podcast and at the website and, you know, all over Twitter is Xander Bogaerts needs to find some sort of like happy medium between 2015 Bogaerts and 2016 Bogaerts, because
he's in no man's land.
Yeah. Because in 2015 he hit 320 with 8 home runs or something like that, or 7 home runs, and then 2016 he hit like 290 with 22 home runs. So if you can hit like 300 to 310 and hit 10 to 15 home runs, you know, and he's the guy that can get on base. And I liked him in the leadoff spot because I thought he caught fire at the end of the season a little bit as a leadoff hitter, forced him to make more contact and less of a power hitter. So I think that's good for him. But if he can go back to being that kind of contact guy and, you know, trust his capability, trust his ability to hit the ball, he could get back to being that all-star level player that he was in 2016 and in 2015. But, you know, right now he's still a big question mark, and that's something that we never expected from Xander Bogaerts when he was called up originally. We thought he was going to be this, you know, this freak of nature that hits 330 home runs and 100 RBIs a year, and that's just not happening. And that's something that's concerning and something that has caused a lot of Sox fans to turn on him and hope that he gets moved in the future.
Well, it's because of expectations. I mean, like, I think that happens to a lot of people. You get these huge expectations for him, and then, you know, they don't live up to it. Now I know Bogaerts still has a ton of time left. Like, we act like, you know, he it feels like he's been here a while. I think how old is Xander? What's his
25.
exact age? 20. Yeah, he's got some time, so he could still morph into something much better. We don't, you know, we go off of his mentality, which isn't that great. But overall, you know, I think that a guy like him, as you said, like, find something. If you're gonna have contact, you have for contact. One thing about him is, though, he doesn't really have that clutch factor.
No, not at all.
And that's part of why I think if he's gonna choose contact and power, contact might be the way to go. Just because contact hitters typically aren't the most clutch. But still, I think that overall, you know, we still got time with him left. I think if the Marlins came talking to us and said, "Hey, package with Bogaerts," like, we'll take it, sure. But I don't know if that's truly realistic.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of up in the air on him, and he's even said that he hates coming up in clutch situations, which I find kind of interesting. He said that, you know, it was like someone asked him a question about like what his mentality is when he gets in the box, and he goes like, Bogey doesn't like that, or something like that. He like even said in the third person and everything, which is concerning, but you know,
talking in third person is concerning enough.
Yeah, talking in third person is concerning enough. Combine that with the fact you can't hit in a clutch situation in Boston, that's pretty bad.
You know what I did see today, though? I did see someone shared it. It was like from October 19th of 2013, the Victorino Grand Slam. Remember that like put us over the top in Game 6 against the Tigers? The most important play of that entire sequence was Bogaerts taking ball 4 on that. And that, do you remember? I mean, that ball was literally like right. I could have been a strike. And he just knew it was a ball, and a great eye. And that, I was thinking, I was like, well, that's him being kind of clutch. I mean, he didn't hit a home run, but, you know, if he strikes out there, that play by Iglesias at short is just a throw to first. He's not trying to shovel it to Infante. So, I mean, he has a good eye. He has good intent. He has good things like that. But, you know, just waiting on him to pan out.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's running out of time on his contract, but obviously at 25 years old, he's still got plenty of time to right the ship and have a very long and productive career at the major league level. But we can move on now and talk a little bit about the World Series game. Right now, it's going to say it's a travel day. They're off today after splitting the first 2 games in LA. They're going to Houston for games 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to completely skip over game 1. Only because, you know, game, that game is not exciting whatsoever. Game
not
2
even
is basically
close to the second game.
Second game, that is probably one of the best baseball games I have ever watched. And just in terms of, I mean, it was kind of uneventful for a little bit, but once it got to the late innings, that game got wild. And that's this kind of game that.
Thank God I started watching in the 6th.
yeah. You didn't miss much at first.
Exactly.
But, you know, Getting into the late innings, you know, all of a sudden just everyone's going deep. It's just clutch hit after clutch hit after clutch hit. And I remember I was like going into the top of the 9th, I was like, oh, I can probably go to bed now because I was pretty tired, I'm going to admit. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to go to sleep. This game's almost over. I'll just watch the rest of it. Marlon Gonzalez hits the game-tying home run in the 9th, and I went, this is insane. And it gets to the bottom of the 9th. I'm like, I guarantee the Dodgers walk it off. Bellinger hits that tank of a fly ball to the warning track. I thought he launched it. He crushed it, got just under it. And then the 10th inning, Altuve and Correa go back-to-back. And you're like, oh, the Dodgers are done. They come back. Puig hits an absolute bomb in the bottom of the 10th inning. I wasn't a Puig guy for the longest time.
Puig's grown on
me. I hated Puig. He's grown on me a ton. And, the antics now are just starting to become something I am accepting, and I'm starting to love with Yasiel Puig.
I'll say this about Puig. If I saw an opposing player from my team, like if it was the Red Sox in the Astros shoes and I saw Puig with blue hair and bat flips, I'd hate him. I'll be honest. But just because, like, I'm an outsider on this, like I have no dog in this fight, he's entertaining as hell. I mean, baseball needs more Puig. I'll be honest.
I agree on that. And, the home run he hit, and then Ken Giles throws the wild pitch, and then Kike Hernandez, of all people, hits the game-tying single. Then George Springer hits the home run in the 11th inning, and then Charlie Culberson hits that home run in the bottom half. And you just think the Dodgers are going to come back and tie again. I mean, that was just an exciting baseball game to watch. So much action, and I absolutely loved it. Obviously, the Astros want to pull that one out. That was probably the best game I've watched all year, minus the game against Cleveland where Vasquez hit the walk-off. That's the only exception.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget about the only exception. Yep. TJ, you can give your thoughts on the World Series so far.
So, game 1 wasn't the most enjoyable. Pitching was amazing that game. Pitching did pretty good. And we seen Justin Turner, who had that late surge this season, starting to do good all season, coming off that injury. started hit really good, and he continued during the playoffs. That's really good. That's exactly what you want. But hitting that 2-run home run shows that Turner, is not going to give up. He's not going to, he's a good player. He's the offense, machine right now for that team. And game 1 wasn't the best, but that just shows that the Dodgers bullpen was really good. But the Dodgers offense was a bit better than Houston's bullpen. But then you come to game 2, and you got the Dodgers coming in with a 28 scoreless streak with that bullpen, and we see that bullpen get abused. And he used 8 pitchers. The manager used 8 bullpen pitchers throughout that game. I mean, if you look at Rich Hill, do you think Rich Hill was pulled too soon? I mean, he only had 4 innings, 60 pitches, 42 were strikes. He had 7 Ks, only 1 earned run. And as soon as they pulled him out, the bullpen started to struggle. Do you think they pulled him out too soon, or was that the right call by him?
I think they pulled him too soon. I think, if I'm Rich Hill, I'm pretty pissed off after last night because, I mean, it's not like he really had any jams he was working in. I mean, he had that 1 inning where he gave up the run, but other than that, he was in control, I thought, for the most part.
Yeah.
I would be pretty mad after 4 innings getting
He was pissed, too. They showed him in the dugout, and he was, chucking his glove around. He was mad.
He should have been mad. I mean, he was
No, yeah,
dealing.
exactly.
He was dealing, and he gets yanked after 4 innings, and that winds up – I mean, and they were, 2 outs away from – or was Gonzalez's home run the lead off the 9th inning? I believe it might have been. I'm not 100% sure how many outs.
I can go check back.
1 out, I think, but I think I don't know.
Okay, yeah, but they were. It was so close to wind up working out in the end, but ultimately, I think you go back to that situation and you wonder, how much different the game would have gone if Rich Hill was able to go deeper into that game. Whether he goes 5, he goes 6. I mean, for all we know, he lays an egg in the 5th inning and the Astros hang up 4 on him and they lose anyway. But at that stage in the game, it just seemed pointless to pull him because he was in control, going tit for tat with Verlander.
Yeah, game 1, game 2, beginning of the game looked a lot like game 1. Seager didn't hit that that home run, and it looked a lot like game 1. But Houston decided, they actually came back this time. They didn't, weren't going scoreless against this team. Actually decided to hit the bat. I mean, Altuve against Rich Hill looked like he couldn't do a thing. I mean, Rich Hill's fastball. He was confusing all the hitters on that team. I mean, this team just, neither team's giving up right now. Neither team's showing signs of slowing down or, confusion. But, it's going to be a great series.
Yeah, I agree. And I heard an interesting stat. John Smoltz said he was looking at swing and miss percentage on fastballs. And Rich Hill's fastball is anywhere between 87 and 90 miles an hour. And he had the highest swing and miss percentage on his fastballs in baseball this year, which is absolutely insane. And I mean, you compare him to a guy. I think him and Drew Pomeranz are pretty comparable in the fact they throw a lot of curveballs and they use that to make their fastball seem that much more unhittable. And I think that's kind of the recipe that Pomeranz used this year and was so successful in. But Rich Hill just seems to have put it all together, and he's a dude that's pitching with a lot of emotion. After he said that he was using a bucket in the back of a bus in instructional league to use the bathroom or something like that just a couple years ago, and now he's pitching in the World Series, which is insane. And he's pitching with a lot of emotion now, and it's starting to show in his performance. The team rallying behind him.
Just like Pomeranz, Rich Hill should also be pitching for the Red Sox, but we don't like those kind of players.
Yeah, we don't like guys that can pitch in big games.
Yeah,
we don't like
and
those
have
guys.
success. We don't like those people. We like guys who crack their pants. But they can sell. Rich Hill couldn't sell a bobblehead though. People forget. That's why he's not here.
Yeah, Rich Hill cannot sell a bobblehead, but he can pitch in October. But that's not what we care about in Boston anymore.
We care
apparently.
about bobbleheads and retiring numbers. Yeah, that's what we like to do.
Yeah, we love the bobbleheads, and we love the panda hats too. That was the greatest idea.
The panda hats were amazing. Whenever I see a panda hat at Fenway this year, I was just like, take it off, promoting the wrong things.
Yeah, I know. Seeing guys wearing Sandoval jerseys at the end of the season, I was like, how have you not burned that shit yet? Seriously.
I know. Oh, I was smart enough not to buy any Sandoval attire.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I don't have money anyway, so. But if I did, I wasn't going after the Sandoval gear anyway.
Shouldn't be.
No, shouldn't be. Going after the better guys like Chris Sale.
Yes, of
but
course.
as far as the series goes and the results, who do you have winning this World Series, Evan?
going off the first two games, you look at it, and I think game 2 is a sort of a microcosm of how the series is going to go. It's going to go back and forth. And I think in the end, it's going to be Houston. Again, I bring in the outside factor. They have the hurricane. They have a lot of things going on. They're playing for something bigger. And I think when a team does that, they sort of play better. I mean, look at the Vegas Golden Knights in the NHL. I know they're two different sports, but they start off 7-1. They're an expansion team. But they had the Vegas mass shooting. And overall, they're playing for something bigger than hockey. And with baseball, it's the same with the Astros. And I think that overall, both teams are so even. Like that's why like game 2 literally is going to be the series. It's even. It's going to be back and forth. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know who's going to step up. There's going to be a new hero every night. I mean, that's the playoffs anyways. But I just think overall it's the Astros. Really. I mean, there's not a lot of reason you can give at this point just because the teams are so even. The Astros have Verlander and Keuchel, and then the Dodgers have Kershaw and Hill and Darvish, all these people. But overall, I think the Astros are going to win in the end.
Agreed. TJ, who do you have?
Back and forth. Yeah, the game 2 and game 1. Right now, it looks like either team could go either way. But I have the Dodgers going. I feel like the Dodgers bullpen after that mess, what happened in game 2, they're going to bounce back, and they're going to have to pitch. They're going to pitch lights out for the Dodgers, and I feel like the Dodgers are going to win in 6. Both the offense for the Dodgers looks pretty good. I feel like after going down into the 9th, just giving up that home run becoming down, I feel like they're going to come back and they're going to show that they're not a team that can't hit against a team's bullpen no matter who they have. They could have all the all-stars, but they'd still produce, I feel like, no matter who they have.
All right. I have Houston winning just on the principle that Evan was talking about, how there's an echo. All right, we're good. Anyway, on the principle Evan was talking about, they're just playing for a lot more now. I've been drawing this comparison ever since I think it was maybe it was the 4th inning of game 1 against the Red Sox. This team reminds me a ton of the 2013 Red Sox team. They're just playing for a lot more. They're not necessarily the most, I don't think on paper, you look at the names, they don't have the sexiest names in the league. I mean, they have Correa, Springer, Altuve, they have Verlander, those guys. I mean, Dallas Keuchel's not really a sexy name. He's just a damn good pitcher.
Yeah.
But they don't have all the sexy names. They don't have, all the superstar. They have all the superstar talent. They didn't buy all these guys. They're just out there and they're playing for a lot more than, just a normal game, kind of like the 2013 Red Sox. It wasn't like, they had all the superstar talent. They just had, a bunch of role players come together with some veterans and some superstars, and they just balled out for each other and they repaid the city. And that's what I think Houston is going to do. And I think they're going to wind up winning this World Series in either 6 or 7 games. I don't see if it comes down to Verlander pitching in a clinching game, I have absolutely zero. If I were a Dodgers fan, I have absolutely zero faith in their team pulling it out, even though they almost won last night against Verlander. But yeah, that's all I got on the World Series for my prediction.
Yeah, same with me. I laid it all out.
We got, was Bregman a rookie this year? Because,
no, second year.
Second year? Okay, so Bregman's been doing really good so far in this postseason, a whole series, not just Dodgers and stuff, but the Indians and, the Yankees, the Yankees, and then shows that, this team may be young, maybe, not as much as experience as the Dodgers have and some players and stuff, but they're showing that inexperience isn't going to stop them from doing what they're good at.
Agreed. They're balling out right now. All these young guys, they seem to be rallying behind each other and playing at a very, very high level. And we'll move on now, and because I think at this point, what we've noticed as Sox fans is how far off the Red Sox are from these two teams at this point. So I think we'll move on. We'll talk a little bit about how they can close that gap a little bit. Was it last night on Jimmy Kimmel where he had Giancarlo Stanton, or was it the night before?
Night before.
I think it was the night before. So the night before, Giancarlo Stanton's on Jimmy Kimmel, and they're talking about how Boston's going to be a team that's heavily interested in Giancarlo Stanton. Asked him how he would feel about playing DH, all that. And I think Stanton's comment saying that he would have no problem playing DH and that obviously he'd want to play the outfield still a little bit, but he has no problem focusing on DHing too. But I think at this point, you know, the Red Sox, if they want to get into, you know, a situation where they could be one of these, the last two teams standing, they're going to have to make a franchise altering move and bring in a guy like Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, there's no better power hitter on the market right now. I mean, you could go get JD Martinez, you could go get Eric Hosmer, but that's not going to close Giancarlo Stanton does. I mean, the dude just hit 59 freaking home runs.
No one even close.
Yeah, imagine the kind of damage he's going to do at Fenway Park with, you know, that with the 310-foot monster and then the short porch down the right field line. You know, it's just, it seems like it almost makes too much sense. I know there's going to be a bidding war for him, but I feel like it almost would be stupid for Dave Dombrowski to not get involved and ultimately not wind up pulling the trigger if it comes down to trading, you know, a guy like Bogaerts or a guy like, I don't know, maybe one of your top prospects. I'm not 100% sure what the price would be, but, you know, Jackie Bradley, all these guys should be on the table, in my opinion, if it means getting Giancarlo Stanton. Evan, you can go ahead.
Well, overall, I mean, it's Dombrowski we're talking about. Like, he is not going to be afraid to make a move on Stanton. I mean, I think, you know, I don't know if he's GMing for his job right now, but I don't think his leash is as long as we might think it is. I don't think it's short, but I don't think it's really long. Overall, I think that Dombrowski's going to be in on Stanton. I think that the package will probably consist of Bogaerts, possibly Bradley Jr., maybe, not 100% sure, and some prospects. I think overall, I think the Marlins are – I don't know exactly what Jeter wants to do with the team. The team's in a tough area. I mean, I think I said this last week. I have guys like Justin Bourne, Marcelo Zuna, and Christian Yelich who are very, very good and are on the cusp of hitting their potential. So it's hard to, like, just get rid of all that. At the same time, though, they have no starting pitching. There's a lot of question marks in the rest of that team. So, you know, that's where, you know, Jeter's first big test as Marlins owner, as one of the owners, the real big-name owner, is where do I want this team to go? What's the direction? Overall, I probably think it's more of a rebuilding team. That takes a lot more time. But overall, I mean, with regard to Stanton coming here, it really depends on how Jeter views as which way he wants the team to go. If he wants to rebuild more, we're going to have to give up more prospects. If he wants to contend now, we're going to have to give up more everyday players. I'd rather give up prospects because, honestly, as a Red Sox, you know, the Red Sox, their time is now. So, you know, if we have to give up a ton of prospects, I know we've already, like, demolished the farm system, but if we have to do a little more to get Stanton, I mean, he's a world-class talent. The guy just can hit. I don't care what he does in the field. I don't care what he gives you, whether it be DH, right field, center field, third base, catcher, pitcher. I don't care. As long as that guy's batting fourth and hitting ding-dongs like you wouldn't believe it, I'm fine with it. Totally fine. Count me in.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, TJ, you can go now.
So Stan's that one type player that can change a whole team, but you look at Fenway, it's seasonal, meaning we have warm days, we have cold days, we have like those hot and cold days. Stan, where he played in Florida, it was always in a close stadium and it was hot. I mean, it was kind of warm there, but he did travel. But you know, a lot of his home runs came in their park. I feel like him having this like atmosphere of having it cold in Boston is gonna affect his bat. Fenway's a hitter's park. You know, he's gonna hit really good in Fenway, but he's not going to do as good as he just did. He'll do, like, you know, if he comes to Boston, he'll be like a 40, I'd say a 40, 50 home run hitter. Won't get up there, but his average will, you know, get up there a bit more because of Fenway and the wall is a monster. Wise, if the Marlins are looking to trade him, he's got a lot of money tied up in him. So if Jeter wants to get rid of him, he's going to have to find a team willing to take on this huge amount of contracts. So giving up like Alexander Bogaerts and some prospects, you're going to have to throw in some dude with a lot of money on his contract. I know he's tied up for 11, 10 more years. He has an opt-out clause, I believe, that I don't think he's going to use. He might use, but I don't believe he's going to use it. You have to either throw in a lot of money into this contract because I don't know if the Red Sox or a team's going to willing to take on all that money. So you have to throw in like Hanley, maybe David Price. You never know, to get in that contract situation balanced out. So I don't know.
How about Rusney?
Yeah.
There's no way they don't want Rusney Castillo. I mean,
true. Forgot about him. Man. Dude, that
Who doesn't
coming
want
in-
Rusney?
Hey, he's got a legitimate shot of making the big league club next year if the Sox go and get Stanton, unless they put him in the deal, which I doubt. But because if they have to give up big league talent, they're going to have to deal probably one of their outfielders. So if you want to keep Stanton as a DH and not an outfielder, you're probably going to have to call Brusney Castillo. But as far as what the Marlins want to do, if they want to dump a lot of that salary, that might ultimately help the Red Sox in terms of, guys they have to give up. Because if the Sox take a huge chunk of that Stanton contract, they may be able to save themselves from having to deal the likes of a Betts, a Benintendi, a Devers. And if they don't want to take on all that money, they're going to have to give up a Betts, a Benintendi, or a Devers. So I'm not 100% sure what direction the Red Sox are looking if they were to get Stanton, if they want to take on that contract and save big league talent, or if they want to trade the big league talent in regards to not having to take on all of that money. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's all. That's what I.
I mean, I think
if
the Marlins can sort of get us to take a lot of the money, might be able to take a little out of the package. But at the same time, I think the Marlins sort of want to figure out a way their team's going to go before they worry about the money, I feel like. And I don't know if they really know what they're doing with the team down there. Jeter's new. They have a new ownership group. I think there's a lot of question marks with that team, as I said earlier. I mean, when you look at it, it's like they're in no man's land. Like, they really are. They're not like a Braves team that's like definitely rebuilding. Like, what they're doing. Like, if they traded Freddie Freeman, they're getting prospects back. But it's the Marlins, and they are like every year like projected to maybe be above 500. They never are. But they're like there, and they could. So for me, I also think if they trade Stanton, we're gonna have to give up some starting pitchers. That's why I like to give away some money. They might take a Porcello. They could take a Price, just for the pitching. They have no pitching, so it's something to consider.
Yeah, it's something they have had to look at, considering their top of the line franchise ace pitcher obviously died last year, so they don't have that top of the line ace, which is why they may be willing to take on David Price's contract, or at least swap them, have David Price going to Miami and Stanton coming here, and I think that could help both teams because, like you said, the Marlins are always that team that's just always predicted to win way more games than they wind up winning because they have the lineup talent, because they have Ozuna, Yelich, obviously Stanton, Bohr, all these guys. They're good hitters. They have no pitching whatsoever. Their bullpen's trash. Their rotation is full of like number 3 through 5 stars. It kind of reminds me a lot of the 2015 Sox team because they had a lot of talent on that team with no pitching staff whatsoever. So I think that kind of is where the Marlins are at. Obviously, they have a much bigger contract than the Sox had in 2015, but I think they draw a little bit of a comparison there. And I think ultimately the Sox are going to have to give up Jason Groom in that deal, regardless of who they give up from the major leagues, because I doubt the Marlins are not going to want a prospect starting pitcher in return. And Jason Groom is the top guy that the Sox have in the organization at this point.
Yeah. Marlins last year had they had roughly 5 runs. I looked it up. It's like 4.8 runs per game. They had a lot of good runs. They were ranked, in the top 10 in runs per game. I feel like if they're trading Stanton, they're going to want pitching in return. Pitching is their huge need that they need to improve on. And if you're looking at any team and you're asking for pitching no matter what, pitching prospects, pitching veterans, pitching players, just in general, because that's what they need to build on. They get runs per game. It's just they can't hold the lead.
Agreed. And like I said, their lineup has a ton of talent in it anyway. And like a guy like Marcell Ozuna has stepped up huge the last couple of years. He's been a guy that can all of a sudden hit 30 home runs. And I think, they'll be able to manufacture runs if they deal Stanton, because they're going to get a lot of talent in return for him anyway. So they can go out, and if they unload a ton of that money, they can go out and get another outfielder that, can help them manufacture runs and not necessarily rely on home runs all the time. And they'll all obviously get pitching in return too. They'll just have a lot more flexibility to go out and sign guys too in the future. I know they obviously, I think Jeter said he wanted to get the money down to 90 million or something like that. So, obviously they'll shape them up a little bit more for the future to go out and spend money on top of the line guys, both pitching and positionally, and that can help them ultimately in the long run that it can't do now.
And suddenly we just became a Marlins podcast.
Yeah, we did. There's a lot more going on in Miami than there is in Boston. We got a new manager, but they're about to trade. They're about to trade one of the best players in the league. So
it's 100% accurate.
Yeah, biased Miami sports.
Sounds weird to say Miami and sports in the same sentence.
Yeah, they have absolutely no market. So we might be the first. We might be the first media outlet to say Miami and sports in the same sentence.
To dabble in the Miami sports world.
Yeah. We'll move on. We'll talk a little bit about one of the teams that Stanton is possibly going to, and that's the New York Yankees. The news that broke today was they will not be bringing back Joe Girardi in 2018, which I find to be very shocking. I heard that obviously the front office and Girardi, they didn't get along very well over the course of this season. But I mean, the dude was one win away from going to the World Series. You know, a team that was supposed to be rebuilding this season. They were knocking on the Sox heels all the year to win the division. They beat the Twins in the wild card game after getting down early. They came back against the Indians. They almost wound up beating Houston, obviously falling one win short there, and then they wound up firing their manager, which I find to be very questionable. And I'm not 100% sure what you think, TJ. You can go first on this one, but it does shock me a bit.
Yeah. You know, I had some Girardi did 10 seasons in New York, and he does have just above a 500 record with the New York Yankees. So I mean, he did pretty good with the Yankees, and apparently Cashman didn't, said to Girardi, he's like, I need you to win this World Series, and that's what needed him to stay. And I mean, they were one game away from making it to the World Series. You never know. That Yankees team is pretty young. They do have that almost MVP between Aaron Judge or Altuve. They've got great catcher and Gary Sanchez, who's a great hitter, not good defensively, but great hitter as a catcher. I feel like Girardi, didn't really deserve to get fired. He did pretty good. Sabathia's contract was about to end. That cleared up a bit more cap space to them. I feel like Girardi, did really good. He deserves to, maybe you get that one more. I know he got that ring in 2009? Was it with them? Yeah, 2009 he got the ring with them. He's on, I believe he could get one more with that team. That team's on the verge of becoming a World Series contender. If not, they were actually a World Series contender this year. They're just one game away. This season coming in, everyone said, or Yankees fans said they were a rebuilding team. I mean, no one saw Judge doing this good. No one saw it happening. But here, he broke out, and this team looks fun to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Evan, you can go.
Considering he was the winningest since he got there in 2008, he was the winningest. The Yankees were the winningest team since he's gotten there. Mm-hmm. That should say it all. I mean, they never really were that terrible. Even when they were rebuilding, they were in fourth or third place.
Yeah, they were never bad.
They were never bad. They were all even rebuilding. I mean, he knew what to get out of young talent. I mean, we could honestly use him here. I don't think they would ever do that. I think it would be a terrible PR move. But I think that, he'd fit this area here. Other than that, though, I mean, he was a good manager. I'd heard rumblings at the end of the season that he didn't really – his passion wasn't managing anymore. So I think overall, right now, I think, I'm surprised. He'll get picked up unless he doesn't want to manage anymore, which could be true. Because, again, that's what I heard. What's funny is yesterday I saw a report, I forget by who, I saw it on Twitter, that he was coming back. So this has been everywhere. I mean, this literally has gone from 8 different ways. But he's out, and I think that I wonder who New York is honestly going to hire. It's so funny, all these good teams, no more managers. The Nationals, gone. Baker's gone. Yankees, Joe Girardi, gone. Red Sox, John Farrell, gone. It just goes to show you that it's not just bad teams who lose their managers anymore. It's teams who just don't meet expectations. I think that's something that's really going to come out of this.
Yeah, I agree. And with Joe Girardi, like I said, very shocking. And if his heart's not managing anymore, obviously, then I think, he's going to hang it up and he's not going to want to come back and manage another ball club. But I think ultimately what's going to be interesting to look at is what the Nationals and Yankees do to fill their manager spots now. Because, I mean, think about it. They could wind up just switching managers. I think Joe Girardi going to Washington would be absolutely perfect for both him and the ball club that he'd be going to, because the Nats obviously haven't been able to get over that hump of winning a playoff series. And Joe Girardi's been to the World Series. He's been to 3 LCSs. He's just been a winner. And like you said, the winningest team since he took over in 2008. I mean, his resume is absolutely his resume is through the roof. And I think it'd be stupid of teams that are still looking for a manager to not at least knock on Joe Girardi's door, ring his phone, and just see if he's interested in coming in, because I think ultimately Washington makes the perfect sense for him. And then for the Yankees, I could see Dusty Baker coming in and filling in that spot.
Just do a little Yankee swap.
Yeah, exactly. And and I've seen a lot of people saying that like John Farrell would be a guy that goes into the Yankees as a manager, and I don't think the Yankees, unless they just are really trying to piss off the Red Sox.
Right now,
there's making sense to me.
People hate Farrell so much. I never really considered him going to the Yankees, but the only way that people would hate Farrell even more would be if he went to the New York Yankees. I mean, imagine the boos when you get over the PA announcer. And the manager for the New York Yankees, number 52, John Farrell. The boos would be just incredible. I mean, it would be unbelievable. And I just wouldn't even be surprised. But no, I didn't even consider that. You can keep going, but I just never considered that.
I think Farrell's pitch or managing days are pretty limited. I'm not 100% sure what kind of team would want him. I know most of the teams have kind of filled their hole at manager, unless, there's Washington and New York, I think, are the only 2 left to be filled at this point. So, but I think Farrell, if he wants to stay in the game, stay in the dugout, he's probably going to have to go back to being a pitching coach. Mm-hmm. But if he, like you said, though, if he goes to the Yankees, that's the only way the Red Sox, that's the only way Sox fans will hate Farrell even more, is if he winds up going and managing the Yankees or being affiliated with them in any way, because that would just grind everyone's gears.
Yeah, that'd be the ultimate troll for Red Sox fans right there.
Yeah, it seems to be, and it seems to always work that way too. Sox players and personnel always go to New York. They never come from New York to Boston. It's just how it's always been. And if Farrell is a guy that does that and adds to that kind of drama and adds to that narrative, then he's going to be even more hated in Boston. He may not even want to show his face that whenever the Yankees come to town, he may have to call in sick.
It'd be like Claude Julien going to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, it basically would be like that. It pretty much. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and we only really have to touch on it because it's not really that big of a deal, is Jackie Bradley Jr. getting snubbed for Gold Glove in center field.
Stupid.
Makes absolutely freaking I looked at all the finalists, and I know obviously Jackie Bradley doesn't play left field, but Justin Upton's a finalist in left field, and I never considered him to be a good outfielder. And then Aaron Judge is a finalist in right field, and then the center fielder finalists are friggin' Pilar, Buxton, and Kane. And I looked at the stats, and Jackie Bradley Jr. would have the second highest fielding percentage for center fielders of the finalists, and the second least amount of errors amongst the finalists. So it makes absolutely no sense that even if he didn't win the Gold Glove, how he's not a finalist after the year he had in center field absolutely blows my mind. It makes absolutely no sense, and it's an absolute joke in my opinion. He's one of the best center fielders in the game, not just the American League, and the fact he got held off the finalist list just pisses me off to no end. I don't know how you feel, but that's.
You said it. It just like that. When I saw that, I was like, "Where's JBJ? Why isn't he on the list? Did he? Is there a separate award because he's so much better? But the Judge catch says it all. The guy jumped. I've never seen a catch like that. I really haven't, and that's no bias here. He jumped over that part of the bullpen and robbed Aaron Judge on ESPN. That should. The MLB must have been so offended and triggered that Aaron Judge had a home run robbed from him that JBJ was, nope, she's too good. We can't put him on the list. It just, I wouldn't be surprised if MLB robots were sitting there you can't have JBJ because Aaron Judge robbed a home run from him. I just wouldn't. I can see that. He gets subbed. I think also JBJ is gonna be on there so many times, and it's sort of like an award. I think they want to give it to different people because he would win it every year. That's how good he is. But he gets snubbed. Hopefully it motivates him for next year.
Agreed. TJ, your thoughts?
I mean, JBJ, you one of the best defensive center fielders in the game right now. And looking at this, we see you can go on YouTube and look up JBJ highlight plays. You'll see nothing but him because he just makes astounding plays that look impossible, but he makes them possible. What was it, that Aaron Judge home run that he had, and center field, the triangle right there? That was incredible to watch. That no one thought, that was a great catch. He covers the outfield really well. I feel like he shouldn't have, compared to Buxton deserves it, but not to be on the list, that's just disappointing because you have Kane over JBJ. Definitely doesn't deserve it over JBJ this season.
I'm honestly curious to think if it's just about names, because you look at the list and you got guys like Justin Upton in the finalists. You got guys like Aaron Judge. I mean, and guys like obviously Lorenzo Cain. You got these sexy names. I don't think Jackie Bradley Jr. I know obviously he's known around the league as a defensive wizard in the outfield, but like, is his name not sexy enough to put in the finalists, like as a finalist? Because you got all these guys. I know Trout didn't make it this year, but he also missed a ton of time anyway due to injury. So, but I think it may just be a name thing. They're trying to market players a lot more. They're trying to attract people to the game, so they're throwing in these guys like Justin Upton and Aaron Judge because they're hot names that people watch them. People watch them hit a ton of home runs, and they see them make a nice play out in the outfield, and they're like, I want to be just like that guy. I don't think many people are like, oh, I want to be like Jackie Bradley and be in trade rumors all the time because I can't hit and I'm only up here for my glove. True. I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I know baseball's been trying to market their game to younger guys, to younger kids, and I think ultimately, it offends more of the old-fashioned fan and Red Sox fans, obviously, if Jackie Bradley's left off. But his name's just not, Aaron Judge. It's not Justin Upton. It's just not Lorenzo Cain. It's just you can't market you can't market him because he's not a guy that really is a two-way player in the major leagues.
It's true.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys have anything else to add?
I got everything off my chest.
I did too. CJ, you got anything else?
Almost it.
All right, sweet. So that'll do it this week for the Hot Corner presented by Bias Boston Sports. Evan, thank you for joining me again.
Always fun.
And TJ, thank you for last minute hopping on. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's fun to talk about sports and baseball right now. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, no problem, man. Peace.